Good morning, everyone. My name is Barclay Hagan. I am with OnPoint Consulting. We are a certified viewpoint service partner. And this morning, Mike Pazinski is going to be presenting for us around increased timely job cash flow with Spectrum workflow reminders. And if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to type those in the control panel and go to webinar, and we will address those at the end. And you will be receiving a recording of the webinar as well. And with that, Mike, I will send it over to you.
Thanks, Barclay. Can you hear me okay and see my mouse moving around?
Yes, sure can.
Barclay? Okay, great. Okay, yeah, thanks for joining. This series of webinars we're doing, it's about software, but more important, it's about business impact. And as companies are transforming into what's next after the whatever we want to call it, cash flow is obviously high on the list. So we wanted to just show you all some in the box, very basic, easy to use and set up features to help you make sure and supplement it. We'll supplement and make sure that your draw requests are timely. So with that, the objectives here today are simply to set up that reminder through Spectrum workflow. A few important points about this. The workflow on the AR draw, he is initiated when you create the draw. So one would say, and I would say, wait a minute, I'm trying to be reminded to create the draw. That's not going to work for me. So point here being, it works on the second and the subsequent draws. When you create that first draw, you automatically create the second when you update. There's a little checkbox when you update. This is initiated when that second draw is created. The way the workflow operates then, it can be updated. It allows you to update that draw then when that workflow is complete. A little bit off course here. All we want is a reminder, but that's the operation of the workflow. You can update your draw when the workflow is completed. Going back to that first draw, simply use job tracking items for that first one. Put a job tracking item, first draw, out there to be monitored through the compliance log to remind about the first draw. And then the second and subsequent again are done through workflow. All right, let's dive into the software here. We're going to get rid of Mr. PowerPoint. Get rid of unnecessary things. I'm in Spectrum, and our goal here is to create a reminder here to create the draw under our workflow assignments. Okay, so when I start, I'm going to hop on over to the workflow module. All right, and I'm going to create a workflow definition. Now, there are some other setups and considerations to be done behind the scenes. I won't get into all that granularity. This is a quick demo on what can be done and how to set these up once the foundation is set up behind the scenes. I've got an AP workflow in here around creating new vendors. I've got a job cost workflow around creating new jobs. I'm going to click New and create a new draw request workflow. All right, I come up to basically the definition. I call this the instructions, all right? Thought process, if there are any override operators that can bypass the workflow, which really wouldn't apply here, or can jump in and complete the workflow for others, they would be indicated here. And the status always defaults to inactive. That'll get everybody one time. You're going, why isn't this working? And you have to activate the status when we're finished. All right, so I'll create a new step. And it's really a one-stepper, and I'm going to say, remember to bill this job. Just period. Remember to bill this job, or create the job draw might be more appropriate. How often does it happen? It's not conditional on anything. We want it to kick in when we create a draw. We want it to kick in then for the next one, all right? Assign to is an interesting field. You can assign it to a specific contact or group of contacts for kind of a parallel effort there if multiple people might be billing this job. Most of the time, we're looking for a role on the job. And what that means is is it's going to drive through your job contacts and look for a specific role that we're about to define. So I want this to go to a contact with an attribute of project manager. Okay. So the approval label, we'll leave it at approve. The rejection, we'll leave it at reject. When is it due? We would probably make this say, maybe 25 days, 28 days after the previous draw, just depending on how soon you want this to fire up. I'm going to make it immediate just so we can see the results. All right. And I'm just going to say, create the next draw. Okay. All right. We've got our workflow created, not a whole lot to it, and I will activate it. Okay. We'll hop out of him, and then to demo this, we're going to make a new job to test it. And let's make it today's date, 210304B. And we'll call it workflow. All right. Cost center will be 200 in my data. And when I say my data, this is my sample company over here at OnPoint. Pick a customer. We'll just give it a $500,000 price tag, no tax, not taxable, fixed price if it's being billed on a draw, fixed price or the unit. All right. All right. Now, obviously at your company, there's a variety of things to do for job setup. The thing I do want to do is just to make this complete is pop on over to the contract and put in a schedule of values. So we'll go to properties, schedule of values, and maybe billing item 10. We're gonna dig something out, and the original contract there is 200,000, and we're gonna do whatever we're gonna do. And billing item 20 is we're gonna fill in what we've done, that we created today. So we've got our schedule of values, and now he's waiting for that first draw. Now, what I'd suggested before is on this job, go ahead and pop in there under job tracking. I've got a tracking item, and I called it FD, first draw. And there he is, okay? He's either done or he's not done. Now, what that's going to do for me is, I've got to make myself a contact also. 210304B. All right, we're going to go to properties and make me a contact. And this is sample data to us. Here I am. You see my title. My attribute is project manager, so I'll fall into the parameters of the draw instructions. So right now, when I come into my Spectrum desktop, and by the way, I like to put just kind of like information things on the left, and then actionable things in the center and on the right. That just helps my eyes and my focus to be where it needs to be. Barclay, you don't have to say anything. You'll notice this job here is under the My Compliance Log status. If I click on that, all right, that's because there's a tracking item, and that tracking item says, don't forget to bill the job. So it's just the first draw, all right? So I'll complete that because I'm about to do it. And you'll see when I refresh, he comes off. So now I'm going to go into that draw. I had two workflows there. I created another job workflow earlier today to be sure I was ready. Anyway, so I'm going to go into this guy, and I'm going to pop over to billing and go into that contract. And let's just go ahead then and do that first draw. We'll get him done. And we'll go through this and you'll see then the logic and the way the software is thinking. So let's just say that first draw, maybe we'll get some dates that make sense, or to 2021. Let's just say it was a month end cutoff and I'm billing $50,000 on the initial dig. All right, we're going to save that. Now, because there's not a workflow in process, I can update this draw. And so we'll fire that off. And then this is the key. Did I screw myself? Whoops, did I mess myself up by 210304B? Okay. Yes, that's right. That's right. He does have a workflow in process now because I've created it. It's a workflow in himself. Let's go back into that draw. Draw request. Here's F1. That workflow fired off on himself. I'm simply going to approve him just to make him happy. Now we can update that draw. Now he's looking better. Now the key here is notice that the next draw will be created, and that's what's going to create the workflow automatically for us the next time. I think I've got some windows open here that are fighting for data. All right, here we go. Invoice is fine. I'm not going to take the time to archive. We know that's something you really must do. And I'll update the sales journal. Again, I didn't archive, just close your eyes during that part. So I've done the first draw, and I told the job tracking item that I've completed it, right? So I don't expect that tracking item to be there either. So notice that that job is no longer on my compliance log status. But because I made my workflow immediate, not 25 or 27 days later, I'm getting a workflow assignment. And that's what we were after. So in theory then, this would pop up based on the number of days that you define in that workflow. So, you know, the PM or whomever does the billing would simply click on that. It takes that person into the draw request to complete that. Let's just say it was and maybe another $10,000. All right, and that's basically the process. I didn't accept, but you do have to approve that workflow so you can go through the update process. But then when you do update, it creates the next draw, and then the number of days later that you defined, he pops up here on the workflow assignment. So that is the goal, to help the PMs or whoever does the billing to stay current. All right, let's pop back over to the PowerPoint here. So in summary, we set up that draw reminder. We're using a workflow as a draw reminder, and we set up a job tracking item for that first draw. Okay. And if I was going a little bit fast there, it's looking, in my case, at the project manager role of any contacts that are on that job. It's looking at the role to look for the project manager attribute on that role or on that contact. All right, thank you. I'll hand it back to Barclay here to close us up.
Okay, thanks, Mike, and thank you all for being here. We'd love to hear from you about what you thought or additional topics that you'd like to see covered in upcoming webinars. You can email us anytime at clientcare@onpoint-software.com. You can also view additional resources and keep up to date on upcoming events by following us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and thank you again for being here. Bye-bye.